All right. Hello, Crier staff, or at least my J2s and 3s. So, as we get closer to the start of the school year, here is your, as promised, quick tutorial video, which really at this stage of the summer should be just reminders as to what our first full issue of the school year is going to look like. Your executives, the six of us, six of them plus me, have been at school almost every day working on the first day supplement. So, that's just about done. So, on that first day of school, reminder, crier shirts for everybody. Show up ready to help us distribute, get a crier in the hands of every kid in that building. But then when we get to class, our attention turns right away to brainstorming for our first issue. So when we start brainstorming for our first issue, keep in mind, as you come up with your list in advance of August 17th, our first day, you guys have to be brainstorming according to the content of the news magazine. All right, so not just random brainstorming. Think of the categories that we have. All right, so to help you just review the way that you should be thinking about story topics, we're going to click on a issue from last year. Our exec team for this year decided that we're going to keep the same structure. Judges had really good review. We did really well at state last year, so we're going to keep the same stuff this year. So I will go ahead and click on issue 2 from last year, just to give you a quick overview and some reminders as to what to expect for this year and how it should really influence the way that you plan with your brainstorming. Yes, by the way, before any of you make fun of me, I am in my, if you remember the Zoom years, not too long ago, I am in my usual recording area. No boys allowed, except Dad. So I'm in the girls' room. If any of them come storming in, or Dean, I apologize in advance, but you guys should be used to that by now. Two of the cats are also in here with me. I don't know if you can see them. Willie and Waylon, say hello. But as usual, they're willing to help me out. All right, so issue 2 from last year, we decided as our theme, and reminder, if you need it, reminder is that theme is a thing in high school journalism. When you read the Chicago Tribune, if you do, or the Kane County Chronicle, or anything, they don't have to worry in a daily newspaper about theme. But when you come out infrequently, the way that we do, we have 7 issues per year. What judges want to see is that you have a theme that ties your content together. So we always have to be thinking, what's a logical, timely, relevant theme that's of interest to our readership, which is students in our building. So last year in November, if you remember, we were still fully masked, lots of uncertainty about the vaccine and where the year was headed. But our staff, I remember our conversations, we were all agreeing that it was kind of time to start looking with a little bit more of a positive, I don't know, state of mind perspective about what was coming up after a long time where our themes were a little bit more dark and understandably so, sort of heavy. So we went with exploring the good. So remember, emphasis on pictures throughout the year. We made the commitment last year to go full color. It costs a lot more. If we're going full color, that means we have to emphasize our picture quality. Now, last year, obviously, you know, Miss Kelly, you probably know Grace, we did have to stage this. We always try to avoid stage pictures if we can. But if we are going to stage them, then at least try to make them look candid. All right, so theme, exploring the good. We're going to do something similar this year. Full page picture, headline that corresponds, subheadline that does a little bit more explanation. This year will be volume 49. We'll put the issue number, Camden High School, and the date. Date, remember, is always publication date or distribution date, not PDF, not proof, but always distribution date. All right, so page 2. Keep the same style table of contents. Judges really like that in their feedback from last year. This goes back to the emphasis on pictures. Table of contents pictures will be dictated based on our staff vote. So as we get ready to send our issue off to PDF, everybody on staff will read all the stories that go into the issue. And you'll have seen them already through our editing process, but we'll read them one more time in their final state. We'll vote on the 4 stories of the issue, but your story won't be featured in the table of contents if you don't have extra pictures for Sammy, our photography executive, to choose from. You always have to take more than the minimum number of pictures for your page. You write the story, you take the pictures, but take more than you're envisioning will actually go on the page because we always need more. And even if they don't get used in here, we've got various social media outlets. We're always trying to keep content. So keep that in mind. Take pictures. All right. Page 3, we're going to stick with lifestyle. So lifestyle will still be our content area. Please remember, lifestyle is a subcategory of feature. We're thinking what is relevant to our student body, what's timely, what are people talking about, what do they care about, are they actually going to read it? Page 3, when people open the paper, they're going to look right at it. So it's got to be something that's of interest to them. Learned a lot last year from my execs about apparently Instagram aesthetics is a thing. I didn't know that. If you look at my Instagram, I do not follow much of an aesthetic. That's what Maddie here, though, wrote about last year. So, and then design-wise, if this year's lifestyle editor, you got to keep in mind you have creative license. So we went with the when Kira designed this last year, she went with the Instagram page looking design right in the middle there, and it had that serve as the caption for the picture. So creative license if you are on a more creative page. News page editor, less creativity. Should look like a straight news page. Opinion page editor, less creativity. But that's why you guys applied for the positions that you wanted. So just kind of keep in mind the creative license or lack thereof that you have. All right. Page 4 and 5 will still be news. News in terms of a newspaper. When you open a paper, front page, early in the paper, you're going to see news. So no, visually, not our most exciting content, but we used to have news all the way in the back. And judges said, hey, you got to bump that up if you're going to call yourself a news magazine. All right, so last year, we're not a daily paper. We come out sporadically, sometimes once in a month. So we have to think what's still going to be newsworthy when we actually come out. So that can be a tough game to play, but you can see last year, I think these are some good examples of how we're able to be forward thinking when we were actually brainstorming and actually writing the stories and think what's still going to be relevant when we come out on the day that we do. All right, so that'll be the challenge this year as well. All right, pages 6 and 7. Last year were voices. This year there's some talk that we might just narrow this down to one page. As you can see, we have a lot of space. So execs and I are talking about, do we want to cut this down and just do one page? And then we'd have to figure out what are we going to do with the page that's left over. So we'll see. Voices page, you will have more creative license. Responsibility is to ask a question, pose it to a whole bunch of people, and don't only ask the minimum number of people. If you get boring answers to the question that you ask, keep asking until you get more interesting answers. All right, so we asked about comfort movie or TV show. Remember that in terms of theme, the cover, the editorial, and the center spread have to relate to the theme. That's what judges want. Other pages, there's no rule that it has to relate to that theme that's on the cover. But we have 24 pages. You should have a few other pages at least that relate to that theme. Otherwise, people might forget what it is. So here's an example of what I mean by that. If the idea of the theme was emphasizing things that are good, comfort movie, TV show kind of fell in line with what that theme was. All right. Next pages, we'll have sports. This year, our exec team decided to make this sports and activities instead of just 2 sports pages. That'll give us some more flexibility. So it can be clubs too. So it doesn't have to just be sports. Because we are not a daily paper, our sports pages tend to be more like sports features. So we have to keep that in mind as you guys brainstorm for the first day of school. Don't say you're going to cover the first football game, because by the time our first issue comes out, that first football game is going to be done. They're going to play several more football games. So you got to think feature style when you're planning for sports. All right, we've got our feature story, just straight up features. So this gives you some flexibility in terms of planning. Think of your J1 year where we wrote all different types of features, so many different types of subcategories. These are supposed to be based off of human emotion, play off of human feelings. Features are meant to make people feel. News stories are meant to inform. They might have the byproduct of making people feel a certain way, but features, you have to appeal to human emotion. All right, so you can see 2 examples of what we did last year. Creative flexibility if you have a feature page, more so than if you have a straight up news page as your editorial responsibility. All right, next up, center spread. Center spread, you get the most creative license. You have 2 pages to work with. You're going to see a combination of elements. There might be an infographic in some cases. Plenty of our issues from last year have infographics on the center spread, so polling and data. But we might have multiple pictures, cartoon like you see here, along with the story. So lots of flexibility. Elliot, that this year, that's you. Ashley was last year. You got someone who's in the design exec role this year. No coincidence that last year she spent designing our center spread. So you got someone in the room who can help you out if you ever need inspiration for ideas. All right. After the center spread, we've got our advice and our editorial. Advice, we're trying to keep it timely. Last year, it came out late November. thinking about tips on picking the perfect gift, you can think about why we picked that for that time. So again, as you brainstorm for the first issue, you got to think what's going to be relevant advice for that part of the school year. We come out in late August, or no, that's a supplement. Sorry, we come out in late September with that first full issue. All right, editorial that'll be written by the executive staff and voted on by the entire staff. So this year, think of the jump in enrollment that we have this year. Guess how many votes we're going to have this year based on the enrollment for J1, 2, and 3. This number is going to add up to 83. It's going to be a lot harder to write editorials that have group consensus with a staff as large as we have become. That'll be fun. All right. You always want to keep anything that's opinionated lumped together in the same part of the paper. So opinion follows editorial. So we have two different opinion stories. Remember, the difference between editorial and opinion, they both express opinions, is that you got to put your name to it if you're the opinion writer. Editorials represent the collective voice of the whole staff. Opinions, you got to put your name out there. All right, so you can see two good examples. We always look for cartoonists, try to find different cartoonists throughout the building and mix up who we have. It's a good way to get a lot of people involved in our production, not just the people who are actually on our crier staff. All right, then we'll have our profile page. Profile, again, is a subcategory of feature. We're going to find one person in the building. Remember the rules we put in place for our staff last year? We're going to kind of keep to the same thing. We don't need to go find the starting quarterback. We don't need to go find the captain cheerleader. I mean, I'm not ruling them out, but we got to think of people. It's a good use of our profile page to find people who don't always get the spotlight. I thought we did an awesome job of that last year. It'd be nice to see that continue. All right, but again, full page picture, ideally not staged. I will admit, staged, and then lengthy story. So start thinking as you brainstorm. This is a fun one to brainstorm for. Who do we want to spotlight? But you got to make sure there's enough content there. It can't just be your friend. You got to think there's got to be stories behind that person that are worth sharing. All right, and then we've got our photos story. So photos, now we've got a photography executive, we've got Instagram, we've got Twitter, we've got Snapchat, we've got TikTok. We're all over. We're podcasting, we're broadcasting. So a photos page is more like a photos story. It's not just a random collection of pictures. There's got to be a story that keeps it connected. So it's not a collage that we're going for. It's got to be some sort of unified story. It can be tough to plan. We might see this start to go away, but we're going to keep it for this year. We'll see how it plays out with our social media, how much of a following we can get there, and then this might become obsolete. But as of now, we are keeping it. So what's a fall-ish conducive photo story idea that you have for that first issue? That's what you should be brainstorming. All right. Then as we wrap up, this is a whole different conversation. This is our 3 ad pages. You guys have already hopefully watched my ad video, and we are doing an awesome job with our ad sales this summer. Most of you have met your ad goal. Summer still a little bit short. Reach out to me or Ashley if you need any help with that. But everybody pull their weight so we can keep printing our issues and competing in our various competitions and going on our cool field trips. All right. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys very soon.